What is up, YouTube family? It's your boy Remy back with another video. I know it's been a little while, and that was purposely done because I know the last video was relatively longer than usual, which was the Q&A, which went a little over an hour. A lot of people hit me up and told me that they had they had to take a while to get through it because it was so long and have other things going on. So I pretty much was like, okay, you know what, let me just give people a little bit more time to get through that, so that when the next video comes out they could just focus on that. So here we are with the next video. This is not gonna go long, as you know, 30 minutes or less. It might be even less than that, so let's hurry up and just get into it. So today's video is pretty much just about my diet, some things that I've been incorporating, some things that I see is working, a little bit of nutrition, and a little bit of exercise regimen. Alright, so from my past video I mentioned that I used to be a vegan for a few years, and I liked the diet, but I don't think it liked me so much. And so when I got to my acupuncturist, we sat down and we spoke about it, and we spoke about why it probably wouldn't be effective moving forward, and it wouldn't really enhance the treatment that I was undergoing, and I'll get into that now. So there's no shout to being a vegan if you know the science components behind being a vegan, and you know all the necessary macronutrients and micronutrients to incorporate within your diet to make sure that you're good, you're fine. But a lot of people become vegan and they don't realize that you're cutting a lot of nutrients out of your diet, and a lot of protein out of it, and I had to realize that as well. So when you're a vegan, so when you take meat out your diet, I'm gonna start by saying when you eat meat, it releases chemicals in your brain and allows you to feel full and allows you to be full. So when you take that out your diet, you get the opposite feeling. So you always feel like you're hungry, and you always feel like you need to eat. So I can attest to this. When I became a vegan, I always felt hungry, and I was eating way more than I did before, and that was because I was not eating meat anymore. So what happens is the body is trained to adapt. So when your body realizes that, okay, I'm not feeling full and I'm not getting meat, and I'm not getting the nutrients and the proteins from the meat, what can I do to substitute this? So naturally your body is gonna allow you, or is gonna force you to crave carbs, which creates a filling sensation within you. But carbs doesn't really give you necessary nutrients and protein, and also carbs causes the blood sugar to rise a lot and rapidly depending on how much you eat of it. So in the average person's body, it's normal because your body can function in a way where it can give you insulin to compensate for those carbs, so your sugar doesn't rise too high. But when you're a diabetic and you have issues, your pancreas has issues producing insulin to compensate for the carbs that you're eating, your sugar rises, and then it requires you to need more insulin because you're eating more carbs. So this is the problem that I was facing, and this is what my acupuncturist said. So now I'm shifting from that, from being vegan and just incorporating meat into my diet. So I eat meat about, I want to say, I'm just starting off small, but even I think this is what it's gonna be for a while. So I'm eating meat maybe 2 to 3 times a week. I was just gonna talk about it, but I know some people is from that show me state, so I'm gonna shoot this video in my kitchen where, you know, the nutrients goes down, where all the eating goes down. So I make sure that so right now I just started eating fish, and I make sure if I'm gonna eat fish or any seafood, it has, number one, it has fins and scales. You could do further research about that. And number 2, I make sure it's wild caught, nothing farm raised, just to make sure there's no chemicals, that you're consuming any chemicals with the meat that you're consuming. So yes, make sure it's wild caught. And if you're gonna eat anything other than seafood, just make sure it's organic and it's grass fed, so you're eating high quality meat. And also make sure you're eating it not excessively. So that's the 2 things that I realized, and I mentioned that in my previous video. A lot of us are eating meat too much, and then we're eating poor quality meat. So what I do is I eat about, meat 2 to 3 times a week. I eat it over a lot of vegetables, a lot of greens, salads, stir fry, things like that. I also mentioned that a grown-up Haitian, we eat a lot of rice, so I had to also cut that out of my diet because rice is, filled with carbs and starch. So I transitioned, but I still like rice. So what I do is I eat cauliflower rice, which doesn't seem to impact my sugar too much, and I also And I also look at wild rice, which is said to be one of the healthiest rices that you can eat, or healthiest forms of rice that you can eat. And if I'm gonna eat it, I make sure I eat it in small portions, things like that. A lot of people will look at this diet and say that it's a low carb, high protein diet, but I don't really look at it like that, because I still consume carbs. I just consume it a little bit more strategically. So before, in the past, when I would eat carbs, I would just eat it whenever and however. I would eat it before bed and things like that. But what happens is, when you exercise and you realize, you pay more attention to this when you're diabetic, when you exercise and you're moving a lot, it causes the blood sugar to stabilize, or it causes it to drop. So when you eat carbs, it causes it to rise. So I know that if I'm going to have a day where I'm going to be eating carbs a lot, I just know that it has to be basically a high, calisthenics workout type of day, so my exercise can compensate on the carbs that I'm eating. Also, that transition to the next thing I want to talk about, strategically eating meat. I know a lot of us, when we consume meat, we're not really mindful of the time of day that we're consuming it. You got to be mindful that, and I had to learn this too, and I realized this also, that depending on the type of meat that you're consuming, it takes a very long time to digest. It could take hours to digest. And some people will eat meat like right before dinner, right before bed. And I used to do this as well. So I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes if you would eat meat, sometimes the person will wake up feeling lethargic or wake up feeling tired and stuff like that. And it's because of what they ate before going to bed. So if you eat something like, I know some people eat like an 8-ounce steak before bed or stuff like that. So if you're gonna do something like, not a shot to you, but not saying not to eat steak, but just try to eat it a little bit earlier, because what happens is, if it takes about 6-7 hours to digest, while you're supposed to be sleeping and resting and recuperating, your body is still working to digest what it is that you just ate. So you'll wake up feeling tired, you'll wake up feeling sleepy, stuff like that. So if you're gonna eat meat, just try to eat it a little bit earlier during the day, maybe like 12-1, so that by the time you give yourself ample amount of time for it to digest, so by the time you go to bed, it's already out your system and you could just sleep through the night. So the next thing I want to transition into is just it's also fluids. So drinking more water, drinking cleaner levels of water. I know people heard this before. Yeah, the alkaline water, and I mentioned that from a previous book, from my book review about make sure you're eating and drinking alkaline foods and alkaline fluids. So I know a lot of us just drink, whatever water it is, but just make sure that the water has a decent alkaline level, because if it's not, they say that it's basically acidic, and you don't want to put anything into your body that's acidic. So before, in the past, what I would do is, I was going through Fiji water, like cases of Fiji water weekly, week in and week out, because that's my favorite water to drink, and it has a decent alkaline level. But I noticed it was very costly. So what I did, I have the pitcher in the fridge, but I'm not going to take it out because it's still filled with water, so it's pretty heavy, and there's not enough space here. So what I did, I got a pitcher that basically, it's like a filter. It basically filters the water out from the tap and makes it alkaline. And if you're like me and you're extremely paranoid, you could get alkaline sticks just to test that water, just to make sure that the alkaline consistency is where it should be. So this is the filter the filter that goes with the pitcher that's in the fridge. So basically, you get the pitcher and then you change the filter every 2 months, because the filter would expire and it won't clean the water as well as it should. So you get the filter and then you switch it out within the pitcher, and you have fresh alkaline water, and it's cost efficient. So say instead of going through weekly bottles of water, every week, every 2 weeks, you just get that, and it saves you get to replace it 2 months. Also, what I started doing is incorporating more fruits into my diet. So I started drinking a little bit more smoothies, which I drink before bed, just so I'm not eating anything heavy. So everyone is different depending on what fruits you have, what fruits you use, or what fruits you like. Just make sure those fruits have seeds in them, so it's not genetically modified or altered, and you're eating organic fruits. In my smoothies, I get whatever fruits that I want to talk about, and I also put this in there. Incorporate the sea moss. So I know a lot of people have heard about sea moss. Very good nutrients. If you haven't, it has a lot of nutrients that the body needs, that the body craves, and it's also an immune booster as well as this. I put this in my smoothies as well, which is the green superfoods, which also is an immune booster. A lot of us get sick. It's normal to get sick, but it's not normal to succumb to that sickness, because your body is supposed to be strong enough and your immune system is supposed to be strong enough to fight off those ailments. And a lot of us succumb to those ailments because our immune systems are not strong enough to fight off of whatever pathogens we're coming into contact with. So I make sure that along with my diet, I'm incorporating those things, so I'm getting all my nutrients and my immune system is highly boosted, so I can fight off whatever illness comes into my way. The next thing I want to talk about is I started my first round of herbs and my acupuncture at my acupuncturist. So first we started undergoing the treatments, and we started analyzing my body, seeing what my patterns are, meaning what I'm suffering from, what it looks like internally. So after going through about, I want to say maybe like a month of treatments, now they prescribed to me my first round of herbal pills. So this is basically called plum flower. I'm not gonna try to pronounce that. It's gonna be bad. So you could look that up. I'm pretty sure you could get this on Amazon, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just getting it, I would say contact your physician first, talk to them, see what they say about it, see if you can take it. Because when I looked at the instructions on the back, it's different from what was prescribed to me. Because I'm a little bit older, my condition is a little bit further along, so I'm actually on a higher dosage. So I would just say, if you're gonna undergo any type of herbs from TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, just make sure you talk to acupuncturist. So I looked at this. So when I first started taking this, I noticed definitely a shift in my sugar levels. So instead of fluctuating up and down, it's been stagnant for the most part. And they're starting to see improvements and starting to expel some of the damages that they see within my body. So one thing they notice is dampness, and that's one of the weathers that's associated with TCM. I think I touched this in my last video. So they're expelling that. And also one of the things that I did, that I was recommended to do by one of my advisors, was look up the ingredients within this, just to make sure I know what I'm taking. I feel like a lot of us are prescribed things, and yes, the doctor is not intended to harm you, but I feel like we don't really look into what it is that we're consuming. We're just consuming it until we finally do that research and we look into it and we're like, oh my gosh, this is what I was taking. Cough, vaccines. But a lot of people started looking into, so I would just recommend, and I didn't want to do it at first because everything was like in Latin. And it was very hard to understand. So when I first read it, I was just like, what? And when you first see things and you're not familiar with it, it kind of causes the brain to just shut down. But I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take the time out to translate what it is that I'm reading, what it is I'm seeing. So I translated basically the ingredients from Latin to English, and found out that it was mostly plants, herbs, fruits that's in this. And most of those plants, I spoke about the 5 flavors that's associated with the internal organs. That's like the foundation of acupuncture. Well, for me, I found out the flavors and what organs it's associated with, so I can know what foods and what herbs I'm consuming and what organs it's targeting. So for this one, I found out that it's really most of the plants that we'll put into this are relatively sweet in nature. So sweet flavor is associated to the stomach and the spleen. And when I asked my acupuncturist that, he was like, basically my root cause of diabetes is, from what he's saying, is the spleen and my stomach area. He's saying like I have issues with my digestive tract, and when you have dampness, like I mentioned before, it causes the chi throughout the body to be stagnant and to be stuck. And when the energy is not flowing properly, that's what leads to illness. So he's targeting the root cause, starting from my stomach area and my spleen, and he's basically trying to get the chi to flow properly, so that it could lead to other areas. And he's just basically strengthening each and every component, but starting with the root cause. And it's interesting because when you juxtapose it to Western medicine, they'll just start at my pancreas. they'll just say, okay, you're a diabetic, your pancreas is not working, it's not producing insulin, it's not working the way it should, and you know what I'm saying. But when you look at Eastern medicine, he's not looking at the pancreas. He's saying, okay, your issue is the pancreas, but that's the aftermath. Let's get to the root cause of it, because if we attack the root cause and we deal with it, we could expel all the symptoms, including the aftermath. So my root cause is basically my digestive system, so which is targeted with the flavor sweetness. And the 5 main ones, you have your salty flavor. That's if I'm not mistaken, the salty flavor is associated with your kidneys. Sweet flavor, like I mentioned, is associated with your stomach and your spleen. The bitter flavor is associated with your heart. Pungent flavor is associated with your lungs. And I always miss out on the last one. Can't remember the last one. It's gonna come to me though. I'm gonna remember it. It's gonna come. I can't even. It just escaped me. But let's just move forward. The next thing that I needed to incorporate was multivitamins. So I don't take these every day because I try to get most of my nutrients from food. But if I feel like that I haven't had a strong week of eating properly, a strong week of getting all my nutrients, then I'll take it. Probably take it a couple days. Again, make sure like you contact your physician, you talk to your physician before you take anything. Again, disclaimer on this video and all my other videos, none of these videos is to prescribe anyone to do anything. It's just to give helpful tips, suggestions, and hints on what it is that I do, what seems to be working for me, and if you want to incorporate it into your diet as well. Okay, that's multivitamins, and it's vegan. So most of the stuff that I consume is still relatively vegan, but it's just not vegan as a whole. The next thing I also started to incorporate is more herbs. I have more, but for time's sake, I'm not gonna go into them. So dandelion root, I use this, and I also started drinking bay leaf. So what these do, the components of this, or what it's said to do, is basically help balance blood sugar, help regulate it. So and that happens because the properties within both those teas are said to increase the production of insulin, gets the pancreas to start working again, so which leads to a more balanced blood sugar and a more controlled blood sugar. So I started incorporating those into my diet, and also got a good old vegetables here. I put this on my Instagram not too long ago. So this is called bitter gourd or bitter melon, or in India, if I'm not mistaken, it's called Karela. Great food if you want to eat it and basically strengthen your body, but specifically for diabetics, it helps the blood sugar to be balanced, and it helps it to be controlled. Because what I've noticed when cutting a lot of stuff into my diet is my sugar is balanced, but also it starts to decrease a little bit. So what I got to do to not be too low is incorporating things with my diet that's going to help my sugars balance out, so I'm within range. And so most of the things that I showed in the video, I'm pretty much gonna put it in the link in the description below, so that you guys could click on it and you guys can get it. A lot of these things are on Amazon, or like those little Asian, bodegas that people just walk by every day, where you get like your fruits and vegetables from. Most of these things are here, and most of these things are pretty much decent price. As far as my workout regimen, I do a lot of calisthenics, and and just, especially now that the gyms have been closed, myself primarily, even though I work in the gym, I can't go there and work out because everything has been shut down. I know that has been the same thing with a lot of people. So what I did is, since I was already naturally just doing workouts using my own weights, what I did is I got resistance bands. So I'll put this link in the description below. So that's what it looks like. So you have these. It comes in a 3-pack. So the yellow one is the lightest one. It's about 20 pounds. If I'm not mistaken, the red one is next. It's 25 pounds. And the blue one is 30 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. Or it should be the weight of a 30-pound weight. So what you can do is use those to exercise. Now it's not gonna get you bulky, it's not gonna get you big, but but it's gonna help you basically stay toned. and just keep everything tight, keep everything in place. If you until you can go back to the gym and start, you know, using weights again. Also, last but not least, if you're like me and like I said, I started incorporating more shakes into my drinks, and more shakes into my diet. So if you're like me and you rest things on the counter and you don't want to mess up your counters, you don't want to, you know, mess up your antique things, you can get coasters. Look at these beautiful coasters. This one is called Gear, I think. I don't know what this one is called, but it looks dope. These coasters. So you can get these coasters just to rest your things on. I'll leave that link in the description below. When you contact the seller, you could just tell them what design you want. I'm pretty sure she's skilled with it, so she can give you something that is well suited for you. And that is pretty much it. My diet, my nutrition, things I've been incorporating, little tricks here and there. Hopefully this video is helpful to anybody. Hopefully somebody could take anything out of this video. If you have any questions, comments, concern, hit me up. Again, I'm not prescribing anything. This is just helpful hints, suggestions, and tips on things that you can do if you want to start looking at a more healthier lifestyle. So with that being said, hopefully, like I said, this helped somebody. And as usual, this message was an attempt to plant a seed, and in return, I hope that you water that seed and nurture it so it can have a positive impact and benefit on your life. With that being said, peace, love, see you next one, family.